Welcome back, Super Friends. Today we are going to estimate with products, which means that we're going to round our multi-digit numbers so that they're easier to multiply. Similar to what we did with the decimals when we estimated to add or subtract, but this time we're going to multiply. So all you'll need is a math notebook or folder, something to write with, and don't forget that super brain of yours. Stay tuned for the video. All right, Super Friends. So we are going to do some examples that show us that we're estimating with products. Now, what that basically means is you want to round your number to the greatest place value yet so that you can get an easy number to deal with. So I'm going to show you what that means with these examples. So of course, 182 times 35, if I'm looking at the hundreds place because that's the biggest place value, I look next door at the 8. The 8 tells me to bump the number 1 to a 2. And then the 8 turns to a 0, and the 2 turns to 0. So now that's 200, again, times. And then that 35, I'm going to round to the nearest tens. Look at the 5. That 5 tells me to bump that 3 into a 4. And that 5 turns into a 0. So now I have 2 times 4 is 8. And then I bring down 1, 2, 3 zeros. So now that answer is 8,000. That's basically what we're doing. So we're taking the numbers, rounding them, making it easier for us to multiply in our heads. So again, here, the nearest ones place, that 6 tells me to bring this to a 2. Everything else turns to 0. So that's going to be 0.00. And then you could also make this just say 2. So now I just have 2 times, if I bring this to the thousands place, this tells me to stay a 1. So now that's a 1, and these turn to zeros. So now I just have 2 times 1,000, which is what? 2,000. Simple. All right, let's move down to our next example. Okay, now this one again is similar to our first problem. I'm rounding to the hundreds place. That 2 tells me to stay the same, so now that's just 100 still, and I'm still multiplying, and now I'm doing the tens. That 4 tells me to stay the same, so the 6 is still a 6, but that 4 turns to a 0. So now I'm doing 100 times 60. That's 100 times 6, which is 600, and then attach my final 0. Okie dokie. That's 6,000. Now let's do D, example D. So now again, the ones place, that 2 tells me to keep the 6 a 6, so that's just 6.0, or you can just say 6. Then I'm bringing down my multiplication sign, and then I'm doing the hundreds place. That 5 tells the 2 to go up to a 3. And then this turns to a 0, this turns to a 0. So now I have 6 times 300, which is 18, and attached 2 zeros. So that's 1,800. Now our last example for the problems, we have 25.72 times 124. Now, the easiest way for us to do this is to round it to the biggest place value, which is the tens place here. That 5 tells the 2 to turn to a 3. So now I have a 3, 0.00. Multiplying. Again, just like earlier on example C, I'm doing to the hundreds place. That stays a 100. So now that's a 1, 0, 0. And then remember this 30.00, that just means 30. So now I have 30 times 100, which means I'm doing 3 times 1, which is 3, and then I bring over 3 zeros. That's 3,000. So it's very, very simple, very easy to do. The only difference is that they will have some word problems in it, but you're doing the same thing. You're just rounding the numbers and then you multiply. Do not round after you multiply. You want to multiply last. So we always want to start with our estimating / rounding first, and then we proceed to multiply.